Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. The Bald Explorer back again with you. And today, in today's show on the 22nd of February 2018, we're talking about the kind of clothes that you wear when you go walking. You know me, I'm the Bald Explorer. I like to go out exploring across the British countryside, bringing to you the views and the news, the heritage, and all sorts of exciting stuff. And I do my walks and I go plodding along, and I'm trying to encourage as many people to get out there in this wonderful British, well, we've had some sunshine today, but in the British climate, maybe I should say. That's what I'm trying to do. And of course, there's plenty of people who, unfortunately, for no fault of their own, cannot get out, but would like to, and so they rely on people like me to make those walks so that they can see bits of the countryside which they couldn't ordinarily do themselves. So, of course, if you are one of those people who wants to get out and about, you might be thinking, what do I need to wear? Now, you can look everywhere. You can look absolutely everywhere for that kind of information, and everybody will tell you all sorts of different stories, and it's very confusing. It's like buying a car or buying a computer or a laptop or any of those things. You're just overwhelmed with stuff. And I'm not going to tell you by any means that I'm going to sort that out for you, because I really am not going to sort that out for you, because you have to work that out for yourself. You can't rely on other people to do everything for you. But, I'm not mean. Not really. But we can have a look at some of the stuff. Now, let's first of all say hello to a few people. Make sure that we are actually broadcasting, which is always good. So we've got Ian out there. We've got David out there. We've got Newport. We've got Cass. We've got Jurgen. We've got Martin Snow. We've got Paul and Ed Warren, which is absolutely fantastic. Have you enjoyed today's walks video with Ed Warren? He's got some unique shoes. We'll be talking about those a little bit later. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. I must get a pair. So, thank you very much for joining me. It's still cold outside here in the UK. I don't know where you happen to be, but out here it is cold. And if you are going out walking, you need to wrap up warm and make sure you've got the appropriate clothing. So, let's get straight into it. Let's not muck about too much. And so, I want to ask you, now there might be some bleeps coming through. I'm getting bleeps on my system, and I don't know, I've done something, whereas in the past I've managed to mute them, but now I'm getting them all through, but you know, don't let that worry you. So, first of all, the most important thing when I go out for a walk, the most important thing is, what do you shove on your feet? Because if you go out in ordinary shoes or flip-flops or even Wellington boots, especially in weather like this, if you're going for more than just a little potter, then the chances are you may end up with some blisters and things, which is not very nice, is it? Who wants to have blisters on the end of their feet? You get the wrong footwear and you might be full of them. Plasters on your little toe and on the heel and all of that. So you need some walking boots. That's what you really need. Now, I've got here we go. Look, I bought my walking boots in. They're these are Millet's own brand, Peter Storm walking boots. That's their own thing. I bought these in 2010, and they've been okay until last year, when I can't remember. Oh yeah, the heel. The rubber heel started to flap up. They were 30 quid when I bought them, 30 quid. And that was, well, say 7 years ago. Say 7 years, because it was last year that the flap. And I've done quite a bit of walking in them. The tread is not terribly worn down, so they've done very well in that. But otherwise, and they're very comfortable. They're reasonably waterproof. They've got these air pockets here to let your feet breathe. So they're really nice. I quite like those, apart from the flappy bits. Of course, you can spend an absolute fortune. Take that over there. What else have I got over here? These are my most recent ones. And I believe these are high-tech. These are high-tech. These were £45, a bit more expensive than the others, but I bought these 6 months ago. They've had a lot of use. You can see that the shoelaces don't last, or the bootlaces rather, they don't last very long. They seem to fall apart very quickly. And only recently this part was coming undone after only 6 months. Now, I don't think personally that is very good, especially for £45. You should be able to do better than that. It's got nice treads on the bottom, plenty of earth, but very, very comfortable. I was wearing these inside the house when they were clean, if I, and just going anywhere, I would wear these. Martin Snow will tell you I have mounted his stairs in them, and his stairs are quite lofty, so they're good, but they flap, you see. So I wasn't impressed with that. Now I dare say that you can go back and have a good old complain, but it's very difficult if you haven't kept the receipt. Luckily, I have kept the receipt for for tax purposes. Thank you. Now these, I don't know what make these are. These I inherited. These are actually oh, there's a make on here. It says Zambalan. No, Zambalan. Have you ever heard of them? Zambalan. I've just noticed it. These, I imagine, are very expensive because I inherited them from a dead man, a relation of Harriet's, actually. But I won't go into all of that. They're very comfortable, a lot stiffer, but very nice. And only recently, so I don't know how old they are, but I think they've been round the hills. Only recently they started. Here we go. This is the one. This has happened. Can you see that?
Hello, my name is Booty, and I'm beautiful.
No. Anyway, so this happened, and I took it back to a cobbler's and said to him, is there any chance you can repair that? And he went, leave it with me. He charged me something like £4, and I think he put some glue on it. The mud is everywhere now. He put some glue on them, and he stuck them back together, and they were fine for a while, and I did a bit of walking, and now it's flapping again. So my question is, perhaps there's some walking experts out there, is there any glue that you can get to do it? Because these, I found some supposedly all right for rubber, a material, some sort of glue, I don't know what it was, some generic glue, cheap and cheerful, and I've done it temporarily. But I thought Evo Stick could be quite good, because that's quite a sticky sort of stuff that you stick on it. So I don't know. So if anybody's got any suggestions for that, I'd be absolutely very, very happy. Let's have a look and see if anyone's saying anything about that. Don't buy very cheap boots. False economy, says Nigel Sadler, and the Millets ones last pretty well at 6 to 7 years. And that was exactly what mine did. So that, for 30-40 quid, it wasn't, but 6 months was a bit shite, really, if I'm allowed to say that. Hello, Mark Green, he's just joined. Gorilla Glue is very good. Oh, I must write that down. Gorilla Glue. Hang on, I'm going to write that down. Gorilla Glue. Where can you buy Gorilla Glue from? Can you buy that anywhere, or is it specific to roofing? It's a question that may not resonate with many people. Okay, so that's your shoes, and your shoes are vital, as I said, because you don't want to get corns and blisters and all that. But what about the other stuff that you can take? Obviously, you can shove a coat on and keep warm that way, and we're going to look at clothes and stuff in a second. But more important than that, if it's cold like it is at the moment, I keep getting told, one of my viewers keeps saying to me, Richard, will you put on a hat? I don't know if she speaks like that, but so, and then another one knitted me this hat, isn't it? And of course you've seen me in the videos wearing this hat. It's very good. And if you came to the theatre show, I actually put it on, which is great. So the purpose of that obviously is to keep your head warm and your ears. However, if it's raining, it's not much cop, is it? So you need something a bit more waterproof. And here, for your delectation, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my favourite hats. I would love to wear it in the Bald Explorer, but if I was wearing this all the time, you could hardly say I was the Bald Explorer, because I'd be, hatted up. Now, I got this when I was doing my Dartmoor walk. It only reminded me when we were talking about it the other day. I got it in Tavistock, and it was a lovely little shop, and it's some sort of reinforced felt. Oh, it's 100% wool, it says on there, sponge clean. And the rain just drops off like this. I don't think I need to do anything, coat it or anything. The rain just drops off. It's lovely, isn't it? You like it? You can't have it. It's mine. So I love that hat. I've just noticed it's got a mark on it. So there we are. So that's hats, but there's lots of different sort of hats. I'm sure you've got some, your favourite hat. And a hat is very distinctive, isn't it? It sort of sums up your personality, I think. I think a hat is good. Always, of course, worth taking with you a little bag, because if you get a bit hot, you've seen me wear this. And normally I just have my camera equipment in it, or the empty boxes, so I can shove the camera equipment back in it. So when I've finished a walk and I go home again, I don't have to keep carrying it. I can just shove it in the back. But what else could you take in there? Well, of course, number one thing is to make sure you've got a good map. And an OS map is the standard thing. This is the Explorer map, which makes life very easy when you want to explore, because it gives you all lots of information. You could do a whole program on map readings. Maybe we will if you're interested. Another thing, of course, a drink, yes, like water. Keep hydrated, use all the language. Keep hydrated, all that sort of nonsense. But I think, for me, and the water is true, but I often just take an apple. If I'm going on, not a very long walk, but an apple, because it contains a little bit of water, and of course it's fibrous, and it's nice, if you like apples, of course. So fruit is very good. The other thing is, if you're going for any length and you're going to have a sit down for a bit and enjoy the view, and why not? At our age, we should be able to. We don't want to go on these hugely long, desperate hikes. I'm not talking about that nonsense. I'm talking about going out and actually just having a stroll and enjoying it, looking at the heritage, looking at the scenery, not sort of out there to prove a point that, just because you've reached a certain age, you should still be able to get right to the top of Snowdon and do the 3 peaks or any of that nonsense. I'm not talking about that. So, of course, a flask is always handy, filled up with your favourite tipple. Your favourite beverage. You don't want to put any alcohol in it, because you may find your legs don't work on the way back. I remember doing some long walks with a friend of mine called Paul Stoneman, and we always used to go to a pub, and we said just one pint. That's all, just the 1 pint. And you get there, and the first pint just disappears. And we'd have something to eat, and then, go on, 1 more pint. And then you've got beer legs, haven't you? And you're walking those perhaps 5 or 6 miles back, and it just seems it's too much like hard work. And we said, oh, what did we do? And of course, anything that we'd taken off in the walk by walking that distance, we'd put it straight on again with the alcohol. So I'm going to have a bit of coffee with this. Here we go. Look at that. You can see the steam. Oh, that's lovely. You can't taste the bleach either. No, well, you see, I hadn't used it for a while, and I cleaned it out earlier today, and it was smelling a bit. You know how they do. Stainless steel. So I used a bit of bleach in it. And you know what it's like when you just can't get away the smell of bleach once it's in. Only the tiniest bit, but it cleaned it out lovely. So rinse and rinse and rinse. And I thought the only way to clean it properly is to bung some coffee in it, and then it'll smell correct, which is what we've got. So let's have a look. So we've been looking at boots, haven't we? There's a boot. I don't know what brand that is, but we've been looking at boots, and that looks all very nice. And now we're going to look at some of the clothes we can wear. And what I am wearing here, it might just look like a very nice jumper. Thanks very much. It was a gift, actually. Harriet bought it for me a while ago. But it's made from merino wool. Now, merino wool, very important in this, because merino wool is very soft wool, but it's a brilliant wool for having against your skin, because it's unlike most other coarser wools. It's obviously not going to be itchy. And for me, there are 2 sort of courses of clothing you can go down. You can go down the modern technical clothing, which is all this man-made stuff and all very high-tech, or you could go down the traditional route. Now, I have to say, I am a traditionalist. I can't help it. I love old things, I love old ways, and the longer I live, the more I think that the old traditional things are much nicer, they're calmer for the human body. We weren't designed to be shoved through this terrible rat race and stare at screens and all that. That's not to say turn off yet, but you turn off at the end of the show, of course. But, and there are those, and a lot of young people I know, they swear by all this new high-tech, lightweight, zip it up, undo, pocket here, this, that, and the other, and roll it up, put it into a thing, luminous colours, and everybody has that. There's no right or wrong. I'm not saying there is right or wrong. This is just purely my opinion, and my opinion counts for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely nothing. But it is my opinion, and somebody might like it. So I prefer to go down the old way, and I like wool, and I think wool, let's face it, wool has been around since the year dot, ever since man got cold, which was probably only a few seconds after he was born. He was thinking, oh, I need to wrap something round me. So obviously he was killing animals and grabbing the fur, but once he got hold of sheep and he realised that the sheep could be shorn and this wool could be spun and it could be turned into some sort of garment, he never looked back really. And for generation after generation after generation, wool has been brilliant. And being somebody who is proud of his country, proud of his British heritage, proud of his Englishness, wool historically has been one of the staple businesses. Merchants made fortunes on wool, and the British sheep, the English sheep, the British sheep, the Highland sheep, the whole caboodle, were the best sheep in the world. Our wool was the best in the world, and I think it still very much is. There's something about this little island, our position, the grass that it eats, the weather that they get. There's something in all of that that makes our wool particularly unique and very worthwhile. And as I say, a lot of that wool was being shipped out all over the world because we were so good at it. So I want to go and stick with the tradition, and of course it suits what I do, looking at heritage. So that's although I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, yeah, but in your videos you've got your son's hoodie on, you've got your son's funny man-made thing, and I think that's sort of probably poly something, I don't know, with a little bit of lining. It's true. And the reason that is, and I'll tell you the reason that is because really nice wool, like merino wool, is actually quite expensive. But no more expensive than the the technical clothes. Not really, no more expensive. And so we're going to have a look at that. But first, let's see what a merino wool sheep looks like. There we go. Look, that is a merino wool sheep. And what do you think about that? That looks lovely, doesn't it? So there we go. That's a merino wool, and I suppose I'm going to show you. I'll show you a little bit later. So I just had a quick look. Is there a technical problem with the lip sync this evening? Sound sync has been a problem, says Martin. Seems okay to Ian. Cheers. Sorry, booted. Hello again. Oh, what happened there? Dave Painter's in. Glad you said shipped carefully. Oh yes, thanks very much. So yeah, no, sometimes I don't know quite. Maybe it's not. I haven't got a powerful enough computer or laptop to get it in, or maybe there's something to do with the sound system that does it. I don't know. I can't work it out. If I go and make a video, it's all in sync because I obviously sync it up. But here I sort of no control. But at least you've got the essence of it. Anyway, let's press on, back on with what we're talking about. Merino wool is a good base layer. They talk about layers, don't they? They say you've got to have these. Again, I was reading another article about it, and they said, oh yes, there's a clothing system. If you're going walking outside in the country, you've got to have a system. And I thought, what are you talking about, a system? This is what irritates me about this whole business. It's been hijacked. The words, it's like corporate speak now. There's systems and there's technical clothing. Instead of just being clothes that you wear to go outside, there's this whole new language, and it's sales stuff, really. It's just I don't want to say it over thing, but they baffle you with science. They baffle you, and you think, oh God, it's a system. I've got to get into it, and I've got to buy this, and I've got to buy that, and buy that. And actually, sometimes, an old tatty pair of shorts, an old T-shirt, and an old woolly jumper is enough. That's all you need. when you're out in the countryside, no one's looking at you to look fashionable and go, no, look, I'm wearing these certain labels, and I've got these special aluminium sticks that I bought, and they telescope up right into tiny little things, so I can put them in tiny little zipped up, this technical stuff is zips all over the place, and pockets within pockets and little things, and a pocket to hide your phone in, so if somebody looks for your phone, a thief, but because the thieves know all those tricks, the first thing they'll look for is the secret pocket. Of course they will. So it's all sales. It's all gobbledy rubbish to me. Anyway, so layers. It's just you just have an undergarment, maybe an overgarment, and then a third garment. That's all you need. It's easy. So let's have a look at some of this merino wool. Here we are. I'm going to show you some clothes now. Here, this is just to prove it can be stylish. That you can still look stylish. You don't have to look like you've come out of the 18th century. There we are. Look at that. And that's for the men. I suppose the women is going, here, what about us? We want to look stylish, don't you? Well, that's fair enough. We can do that. Here we go. All right, so she looks like she's wearing her pyjamas. I grant you that. But that is actually underclothes. This is merino wool. And you can have it under, and you can have jumpers, and you can all sorts of stuff. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I've lost my camera. Hang on, where's the camera? There it is. So what are the... Let's have a look. I've got some blurb here. I've got some blurb. I'm going to give you some blurb. I'm also going to have a little slurp. And to accompany the blurb, let's see what we've got on the old music front. A little bit 1970s quiche. To keep it going. So first of all, merino wool is a natural fibre, and the advantages of that is that it is renewable, so that's good. It's a sustainable product, to use all the up-to-date phraseology. It's biodegradable naturally because it's sheep's wool at the end of the day, and curiously, dust mites do not like merino wool, which means it's not going to be all itchy and horrible and nasty. So that's all very good. The other thing is it's antibacterial. Unlike thermal products, merino wool layers can be worn for days on end and weeks if necessary without it needing to be washed, believe it or not, and still remains odourless. So that is incredible. I think that's for me, who doesn't like to sort of use the electric too much because of the dryer and the washing machine. That's perfect. So I haven't washed this for 25 months. Merino wool, like cotton, can absorb up to 30% of its own weight in moisture, making it lightweight and warm. It's a natural temperature regulator. Now, this is surprised me. Can be worn in temperatures of up to 80 degrees centigrade. Yeah, that's right. So you can put on a nice merino wool thing, and actually, it's a bit like a thermos. It can keep stuff hot, but it can also keep stuff cold. So it's doing that. It says here that the Bedouin tribes, or some tribe. I'm not very good at reading the complicated names of other tribes. In the Sinai Desert, also wear wool. Now you wouldn't think that, would you? But maybe you would. Softer on the skin, as I said, because it doesn't itch. It's resistant. Due to years of evolution of protecting sheep from the sun, merino wool can absorb UV radiation better protection against the sun. So better to wear one of these than to wear your traditional nylon stuff, which, of course, if nylon catches on fire... It did once. I was... it's also machine washable, there, you see. I was once did a bit of fire eating, and years ago I got into fire eating, and they wanted somebody to stand outside some house on bonfire night for the corporate entertaining, some private, big country pile it was, and so I was going to be there blowing all this flames. So often I would do this sort of bare-chested, but I can't remember quite why, but I had this... I think there was a Victorian theme, and I thought it would be more appropriate to have a little waist, not so much, I can't remember if I had a waistcoat. I had this shirt on, this little scruffy old shirt which I got, and a little bow tie, and it was a short sleeve shirt because I still wanted to run the fire up and down my arm, showing off. In the days when I used to do all the entertainment stuff. And so I was out there with all this paraffin, blowing this flyer as people arrived. Oh, he's nice. Oh, you're clever, little man. Rolling it over my head. Oh, what a clever man. And then, because I tapped the nylon, and the nylon caught fire and melted. And it went into this great glob, and people were looking at me and laughing. I didn't notice because I was so busy doing the big blows and all that. They said, "Here, your arm's on fire, don't you?" It was a great flames up here. And I turned round, and there it was. Then I felt this almighty pain because this nylon had melted into a great big bobble of black oil, effectively, and it was burning through onto my skin. And I had the scar for ages, for about 4 or 5 years. I had this scar, and if ever I went into if I was brave enough to take my shirt off in public, I would have this white little patch here. I think it's virtually gone now. But yeah, so that's nylon, horrible stuff. But anyway, so there we are. Let's have a look, see where we're going. We're almost running out of time again. There was much more to do. Martin Snow says he suggested I grow a beard to get rid of the sink. Yes, that's true. Have a look at Nordic Cliff for wool products, says Dave Painter. Thanks, Dave. That's a good one. Or turn round and face the map. Oh, yes, thanks. Yeah, I could do that. I could do it like this, couldn't I? Do the flowers need some water? The leaves look like they're... You're not supposed to be talking about the other stuff, you nanas. I did all this research today. I will press on regardless. I don't care what you're saying. A good walking pole. I don't understand walking poles. I mean, I can understand you get a nice bit of ash or, a bit of hazel. Hazel, I believe, is good for walking sticks, isn't it? I understand that. That's nice. But why would people buy these things? I mean, you've got to carry them, haven't you? I've never understood that. Going up, especially when I went to Cadair Idris last year, Georgie and I went up there, and there were these people. They seemed to be lumbered with these sticks. They didn't know what to do with it, hoiking up there. And I thought, "Oh, you've lost your skis, mate. How are you going to get down? Good for the way down." So I don't understand the sticks. I'm confused by that. So let's have a look at. Oh yes, what do you wear on the top? Here we go. I have. This is lovely. I love this. I love it. Absolutely love it. This is a genuine Harris tweed jacket. You would have seen me wearing this on some of the walks because it is very warm. Doesn't necessarily go with this jumper, of course, but it's got a bit of blue in it, you see. Harris tweed. That's a real good. It would last a lifetime. And inside, it's got the logo. I'll talk about that in a minute. So Harris tweed, or rather tweed, first of all. Tweed was a very old material. I mean, it goes back, talk about going back to the early days. Tweed was that sort of thing where the farmers were out there working in all weathers in Scotland and in Ireland, and they needed to come up with some sort of rough material, and they came up with something anyway from sheep's wool, and so it was originally the working man's cloth, but it's people wonder where the name tweed comes from. So a lot of people think it comes from the River Tweed. Here, I'll show you a picture of the River Tweed because I'm sure you're itching to see that. There we go. That is that's the actual River Tweed, and I suppose you want to know where it is. The River Tweed comes in from Berwick upon Tweed, of course. Here we go. There you are. Look on the top, towards the right of your screen. You'll see it goes down towards Coldstream, which I assume is where the Coldstream Guards go. And a tributary off there, look, is Blackadder. Didn't know that. Whiteadder. So you can see, and if at the top left on the screen, you see Edinburgh, so you get a vague idea where it comes from. So that's all very good and nice. So they think it's connected with the Tweed Valley there, but then somebody else said, well, it's a corruption of the word twill, where you twill, and it was turned into tweed. I mean, I don't actually know what the answer is, but in the in the mid-19th century, in the 1850s, there was a sort of surge of Englishmen went up to Scotland and had these estates and started to wear some of this tweed, and they would pick out the colours because they were doing deer stalking and hunting and that sort of stuff. They wanted colours that would camouflage. So originally it was all down to camouflage, and they would pick out the different colours in and ask for that. So you then got into this business of having estates. The Prince Albert, I think, was responsible for these estates. People going up. Prince Albert in the 1850s, he had his own. He bought Balmoral. I suppose you want to see a picture of Balmoral now. Here we go. There's a picture of Balmoral for you, flying the flag. When he purchased that, he had his own estate tweed, and then the other estates copied suit, which was quite interesting. And then you get clan tweeds, which is sort of like tartan, I suppose. And do you know the difference between an estate tweed and a clan tweed? If you don't, I'm going to bore you with it because I did the research this afternoon. A clan tweed is the tweed that anybody in the world could wear a jacket with that tweed in it, and it signifies they're part of that clan, that family. Whereas an estate tweed, only the workers and the people who live on the estate would wear that. It's a bit like wearing corporate colours and that sort of thing, but a bit nicer than wearing corporate branding, because corporate branding really, you know, up against nice proper clothes, is all a bit nylon-y and naff. I know I'm showing my my snobbiness. I mean, I don't know why. I can't afford any of this stuff. But I would rather have all the nice clothes than the, but you know, needs must as the devil drives. Anyway, so that's to do with that. And the different tweeds, of course, come from different sheep. The different sheep provide different wool. So you get I don't know how you pronounce this. Cheviot tweed, is it? Cheviot tweed. I suppose. Hang on, I'll see if I can find this sheep. Here is. Oh, that's a merino sheep. Another one. That's a nice little merino sheep. That one is lovely, isn't he? And then Cheviot or Cheviot or however you want to pronounce it. Here we go. Fine-looking sheep. Fine looking sheep they are. And then the Shetland tweed comes from the Shetland Isles. The sheep up there. I don't know if you can see them in the far distance. They are there. They are doing their thing. Many other different types of tweed there are. You can look them up if you so wish. I'm sure you probably don't want to, but there's one called thorn-proof tweeds, and I thought that was interesting because it's a high twisted fibre, tough and resistant to tears and punctures, so you could actually pierce it with something and you rub it and it all comes back together. So that's all nice. And of course, branding, of course, there's many brands, but the famous is the Harris tweed. And the Harris tweed mark I showed you in my jacket, didn't I? Which is their hand-woven Harris tweed. That's the certification orb, hand-woven in the Outer Hebrides from 100% pure wool with the number on it. And I think you'll find that mine is there. I got this from the Edinburgh Mill company outlet, whatever they call themselves, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great for particularly cold days, and if you're standing around waiting for buses. So so there we go. Let's see what people have made of the show so far. Coming up to the end now. Thank you very much for watching. Let's play some music and see what people are thinking of the show. We'll come down there. Sticks for posers, says Martin. Kevin Hall says, Martin, not when you're out on a muddy track or trying to get them down banks. I suppose in a muddy track you can stick them into the ground. That's true. Hadn't thought about. Poles, as Kevin says, are good for traversing mud hills and downhill. Gives your whole body a workout. Well, I suppose if you're having to carry them. Martin says he's thinking of idiots who use two racing along barging people out of the way. Not sure what you mean there, Martin. Anyway, it's nice to see the livestock. Thank you very much. So every day slightly different themes on different shows. If there's a theme that you want, me to do, I will, rather than just random chaos. So there we are. Now tomorrow, you'll get part 2 of the Ed, Warren and I go up Blackdown as a walk. That will be popping up on your screens in the morning. And I'm taking a trip out with a young lady called Julia to have a look at the Kingly Vale yews, the natural plantation there. We're going out there hoping to make a couple of videos and looking at these wonderful and magnificent trees, which I hope you'll enjoy. They are just sort of north of Chichester, and it's going to be exciting. I'm very excited. I'm going to pack my bag, make sure I've got my apple, and of course my flask of coffee, which has now gone lukewarm. Anyway, thank you so much. I will see you hopefully again tomorrow. Last thing to say is probably going to do these shows Monday, Wednesday and Fridays from now on. I'm interested in your feedback, of course. I'm still trying to work out the format and how it's going, so each one is slightly different. But until then, thank you very much. Oh, I've got to get over to the right thing. It's very difficult operating all of this. Where's the end caption? There it is. So from me, take care one and all, and goodbye.